The king who became a beast. The foxes smelled him first. Not the scent of royalty, not perfume or incense or the oils that once dripped from his beard. No, this was the smell of earth, sweat, fear, something raw and unraveling. They watched from the edge of the thicket as he dragged himself forward on all fours, his fingers clawing into the dirt like roots seeking water. His hair hung in matted clumps down his back, thick, wild, tangled like feathers that had forgotten how to fly. His nails had curved into talons, yellow and cracked, scraping against stone as he moved. He didn't walk, he crawled. A heron, perched on a low branch, tilted its head. "That man," it said, voice quiet in the way birds speak when they're unsure. "He was the greatest king who ever lived." A jackal laughed, sharp, cutting. That broken thing! That's no king. That's barely a man." The heron didn't blink. "I've seen him, years ago, when the palace still gleamed, when armies knelt at his name." "You're lying." "I'm not." The jackal circled closer, studying the creature in the dirt. The man's eyes were vacant, clouded, staring at nothing. His mouth moved, chewing. Grass, just grass, pulled from the ground in fistfuls, shoved between cracked lips. "What kind of king eats like a goat?" The heron ruffled its wings. The kind who forgot what he was. If stories like this, where power collapses and God rewrites history, pull you in, make sure you're subscribed to Hidden Bible Stories. The animals began to remember. It started with the older ones, the ravens who had nested in the palace courtyards, the desert hares who had watched caravans roll in from every corner of the earth, loaded with gold, silk, spices, tribute. "Babylon," one raven croaked. "The city of cities." "Hanging gardens," another added. "Trees that shouldn't grow. Water that defied the sun." A wild goat stamped its hoof. "And him, Nebuchadnezzar, the name that made empires tremble." The jackal snorted. "You're telling me that," it gestured with its snout toward the man still gnawing on weeds, "was feared?" "Feared?" The raven's eyes glinted. "He conquered Egypt, razed Jerusalem, brought nations to their knees, and made kings serve him wine. He built towers that scraped the sky," the goat added. "Statues so tall you had to tilt your head back until your neck ached just to see the top." The heron spoke again, softer now. "And then he dreamed." Silence. Even the wind seemed to pause. "A tree," the heron continued. "Massive, rooted deep, branches stretching to the heavens. Every creature found shelter in it. Every bird nested in its limbs. It fed the world." The jackal's ears flicked forward. "So?" "So the tree was cut down." The goat shifted nervously. "Cut down?" "By heaven's command. A voice came from above, an angel, they say. The tree was severed at the root, its stump bound in iron and bronze, and the one who had been the tree, he would be driven from men. He would live with the beasts, eat grass like cattle. His mind would be taken from him." The jackal stared at the man in the dirt. "For how long?" "7 times, the heron said. 7 seasons, 7 years, until he knew that the Most High rules over all kingdoms, that heaven gives power, and heaven takes it away." The raven cawed, almost amused. And there was a man, a prophet, Daniel, they called him. He interpreted the dream, told the king exactly what it meant, begged him to repent, to show mercy to the poor, to break from his pride. "And?" the jackal asked. The goat's voice was barely a whisper. "He didn't." 12 months passed. 12 months of warnings ignored. 12 months of golden cups raised in triumph. 12 months of walking through his palace, chest swelled with satisfaction, eyes sweeping over the glittering skyline he had built. And then, one day, he stood on the roof. The sun was setting. Babylon stretched out before him like a jewel laid at his feet. Every brick, every archway, every tower, his. Built by his hands, designed by his will. A city that would outlast empires. He smiled, and he spoke. "Is this not Babylon the Great, which I have built by my mighty power, for my royal dwelling, and for the glory of my majesty?" The words were still hanging in the air when it happened. Inside his mind, something cracked, not like bone breaking, like glass under pressure. Slow. Then, all at once, he heard a voice, not from his mouth, not from the earth, from above, clear, final. "The kingdom has departed from you." And then, gone. His thoughts unraveled like thread pulled from a tapestry. Memories blurred, language dissolved. The world became shapes without meaning, sounds without words. He dropped to his knees, then to his hands. He didn't choose it. His body moved without him, like a puppet with severed strings, collapsing into something it was never meant to be. He crawled, off the roof, down the stairs, through the gates. No one stopped him. No one recognized him. By the time the sun set, he was in the wilderness. Now, in the dirt, in the madness, fragments of memory flickered like dying embers. He remembered standing. He remembered the weight of the crown. He remembered his own voice saying those words, "My power, my glory, my majesty," and the sickening realization that followed. I was warned. I knew. And I still. But the thought wouldn't finish. It broke apart before it could land. His mind was a shattered mirror, reflecting pieces of a man he used to be, but could no longer hold together. He tried to scream. What came out was a sound no human should make. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. The animals stopped mocking him. They just watched. The rains came. He didn't seek shelter. He sat in the mud, head tilted back, mouth open, drinking from the sky like he'd forgotten what a cup was. The sun scorched. His skin darkened, cracked, blistered. He didn't notice. He ate when hunger clawed at him. Grass, roots, anything green. And somewhere deep inside, so deep he couldn't reach it, he was still aware. Trapped. A king locked inside a beast. Then, one morning, something shifted. He didn't know why. He didn't know how. But he looked up, not at the trees, not at the sky, beyond them. His eyes, clouded, wild, barely human, fixed on something unseen, something he had forgotten existed. And for the first time in 7 years, a thought formed, not fragmented, not broken, whole. I am not God. It was like waking from a dream where you've been drowning. His mind returned, not all at once but in waves, memories reassembling, words finding shape again. His hands, still clawed and filthy, trembled as awareness flooded back. He looked down at himself, at the dirt caked under his nails, at the hair hanging like animal fur, at the body that had become something unrecognizable. And he wept. Not the weeping of a child, the weeping of a man who has seen the edge of oblivion and been pulled back, not by his own strength, but by mercy he didn't deserve. He lifted his eyes again. This time he spoke. His voice was hoarse, cracked, barely louder than a whisper, but the words were clear. I blessed the Most High. I praised and honored him who lives forever. His dominion is everlasting. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are nothing compared to him. He does according to his will, in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth. No one can stop his hand or say to him, "What have you done?" The words didn't feel like his own. They felt like the first true thing he'd ever said. And then, his reason returned, fully. The fog lifted. The madness evaporated like mist under the sun. He stood, not on all fours, not crawling. Stood. His legs shook, his body ached, but he stood. And as he did, something else returned. His honor, his kingdom, his throne. Advisors found him, servants washed him, robes were brought. The crown was placed back on his head. But the man who wore it now was not the man who had lost it. He ruled again, but differently. He spoke less, listened more. When he gave commands, they were measured, careful, humble. He promoted Daniel higher than before. He built monuments, not to himself, but to the God who had broken him and made him whole. And when people asked him what had happened, where he had been, why he had vanished, he didn't hide it. He told them, every detail, the dream, the warning, the pride, the fall, the grass, the madness, the restoration. He told them so they would know, heaven rules. And no throne, no matter how golden, how powerful, how ancient, stands unless heaven allows it. But here's what no one talks about. What happens when a man tastes madness and comes back? Does humility last, or does pride wait, patient in the corners of his mind? What happens when power returns to hands that once crawled in the dirt? When a crown is placed back on a head that remembers what it's like to lose everything? Does a king who has been a beast ever truly forget what he became? And if God can take a mind once, can he take it again? If this story gripped you, if it made you wonder what happens when heaven intervenes and kings fall, make sure you're subscribed to Hidden Bible Stories, because the Bible is full of moments like this, moments we've forgotten, moments that change everything. Don't miss the next one.